Motivation is a myth and you have been lied to. The idea that we have to wait to feel motivated before we can achieve anything or before we can get stuff done is a myth. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for a text that would never come. You waste so much time waiting instead of actually moving on. Now, motivation exists. There are times where you feel like doing something and that pushes you to actually doing it. But the real myth is that we have to wait for that feeling to kick in before we get stuff done. And if you've ever missed deadlines, if you've ever fallen off your routines, or if you've ever even broken promises to yourself, most likely you were waiting for motivation. And where did that get you? Nowhere. And the crazy part is, while we are waiting for motivation is waiting for us. Various studies have shown that motivation thrives on action. Motivation thrives on doing the things that pushes you towards being the kind of person that you want to be. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to stop waiting for motivation and create it instead. Hi everyone, welcome back to Inspire That Podcast. It's me, your host, Princess. Sometimes we may look at high achievers or people that have what we are working towards, and we may think to ourselves, if only I had so much motivation, if only I had the kind of drive that they have, because typically high achievers look like they have so much drive in their life. We think it's just a superpower that they have that allows them to put in the effort towards areas of their life. But if you meet any of them, they'll easily tell you that the success that they have is due to the fact that they kept on putting the effort even when they didn't feel like it. And this simple thing is what separates people that get what they want and people that don't. I'm sure we all have that time in our life where we really know that we should put in the amount of effort to get what we want. We know that we should be waking up early. We know that we should be eating certain things. We know that we should be moving our body, but we just don't. We really want to do these things, but we are stuck and we're waiting for that moment where we just get motivated. And trust me, I've been there. I've been waiting for when finally I wake up and I see the world differently and I just want to put in the effort. But like I said in the intro, motivation comes from actually doing the work. Instead of waiting for motivation to get the work done, we have to put in the work to finally feel motivated to put in more work, because motivation actually comes from the feeling of completing something taxing or the feeling of making progress towards something that you want. The dopamine hit you get when you finally tick something off your to-do list is motivation. And sometimes we can feel motivated before we actually put in any work because our brain has already imagined progress we're going to make, so we feel motivated to do it. And why we can't trust that motivation? Because sometimes our brains may struggle to see the progress that we would make if we get it done. So when your brain is struggling to see this progress, you feel unmotivated. You don't have the willpower to get up and put in the effort because your brain is thinking, what's the point? So basically, you get motivated seeing yourself getting closer and closer to the kind of person that you want to be. So if you're looking for motivation, instead of sitting around waiting to finally feel like doing it, you have to get over that first step. If there's anything that you're trying to start, or if there's anything that you have started in the past, we all know that that first step is the hardest step. When you get the ball rolling, things become relatively easier. Why? Is because you can finally see progress. You're seeing where you're going, you're making achievements, you're overcoming challenges, and all these things is what makes you feel more motivated. If on Monday I start my day and I do some exercise, even though I didn't feel like, I feel good. On Tuesday, I remember how good I felt. I remember I was seeing my abs slightly in the mirror. On Tuesday, I'm going to put in more effort and I'm going to go harder. And the following Tuesday, I'm even going to go harder because I'm seeing my goals, I'm seeing the progress, I'm seeing how close I am to getting the dream body that I want. Okay, but now it sounds so crazy because to get motivated, I need to put in the work. But in order to put in the work, I'm still looking for motivation. It's really just a cycle that seems impossible to get on. But what we need to realize is that whenever we set a huge goal for ourselves, what we should do is to break it down. Because I can say, oh, I want to get my dream body, I want to look a certain way, and that may look so far-fetched. That may look like it's almost impossible. But what I should break it down to is, okay, I'm going to work out consistently this week, or I'm going to do a 20-minute ab workout, or whatever workouts you want to do. That could be your small goal, because looking at this dream body that you have pasted on your wall, it's like, this is so big, this is so huge, there's no way I can get this. But when you break it down to something relatively small, it's like, okay, this is doable, I can do this. Your brain is like, okay, we can try this out, let's see. It's less scary. But when you leave it as such a huge goal, it's so big, your brain is almost intimidated, and she's trying to protect you from that feeling of failure and protect you from basically failing and hating on yourself. So she's like, you know what, if we never try, it means we didn't fail. So your brain tricks you into not trying. And this is where the whole I don't feel motivated to do something, this is where it all stems from. So, and I was watching a video where she was like, okay, if you have a challenge for yourself to do something consistently for 30 days, and if 30 days is too long, and she was like, well, do the challenge for one day and then challenge yourself 30 times. And I was like, you know what, that's low-key a hack, because I'm trying to be consistent on TikTok. I could say I want to post for 90 days straight, which is 3 months, but that is so intimidating to say the least. post. What I do now is, okay, I'm going to post this week. I'm going to post every single day. And that has been working for me. I've been posting for week after week after week consistently. And my mind is not thinking, wow, 90 days. My mind is just thinking 7 days is doable. It works. I can do that. But I'm tricking my brain because the actual goal is 90 days. And ultimately, you need to remember your why, because you can't keep showing up for yourself when you genuinely don't know why, or when you genuinely feel like there's no point to this. So having a why you can keep returning to when you feel unmotivated is really important. And try to keep a record of the progress you've made, because it's very easy for us to discredit our work, or it's very easy for us to say we haven't done that much because we keep looking at where we're going instead of looking at where we're coming from. So sometimes pause and take a look back on how far you've come, how last year by this time you weren't even doing XYZ, but now you're getting the ball rolling, you're making some progress, you're meeting new people. And ultimately, if you really struggle with doing something, shift your identity from who you are to who you want to become. The amount of times I tell myself, oh, I love reading, even though I prefer scrolling, I will say I love reading, I prefer reading in bed than scrolling, just to reinforce it in my head that I am a reader. So if there's anything you're doing, don't keep saying, oh, but I don't like doing this. Shift your identity and reinforce it constantly, because whenever you're presented with two options, to either remain disciplined or to slack off, you're reinforcing the identity. So if you are presented with, okay, hit the gym or stay in bed, and then you stay in bed, the next day you pick stay in bed, the next day stay in bed, stay in bed, stay in bed, you're going to be someone that always stays in bed instead of going to the gym. So every single day, see that as an opportunity to reinforce who you want to be in your mind. But to keep this long term, you need processes set in place. In order to be successful at anything, you need routines, you need habits. It's not just going to happen. In order to be successful in putting out a weekly podcast, on Monday I have to be recording, on Tuesday I have to be editing, on Wednesday I have to be making thumbnails if I want the podcast to go up on a Thursday or on a Friday. These routines have to be ironclad. They have to be foolproof. You can't give room to, I'll do it tomorrow. No. Tomorrow there could be an emergency. Something could come up, or you may not feel motivated. So just do it now. Follow these processes. Create the routines. Don't just let the day take you wherever it feels like. Don't just wake up and be like, what am I doing today? It should be structured, because our brain really thrives on structure. Our brain thrives on habits and routines. When you do something every single day for like 30 days, it finally becomes part of you. You don't have to think or check if you're motivated enough to do it. You just do it because that's who you are. And it's going to take some time. Don't feel like, okay, I've been doing this for 2 weeks now and it's still super difficult. Of course, it's still super difficult. You need to keep putting in the effort. And remember, anytime you wait for motivation, or anytime you don't do something because you don't feel motivated, know that you're reinforcing it in your mind that you need motivation to get things done. But when you tell yourself that you don't need motivation to get things done, I have a goal, I have a plan, I have this process, these are the things I'm going to do daily, weekly, your mind doesn't even look for motivation anymore. She's looking at the plan, she's looking at the goal, and she's sticking to those plans. And really, all this definitely sounds super hard, like, oh yeah, just stick to the plan. But the easiest way is to fall in love with the process. For you to stick to the plan, you have to be focused on the process and not just the goal. Because if you're trying to get 100 of something but you've reached like 20, it's really hard to keep going, because you're just at 20 but you've done so much heavy lifting, you've done so much work already, but you're not even halfway, or you're not even quarter way there. What you should do is learn to enjoy what you're doing. If you want to get your dream body, eventually you have to fall in love with going to the gym. If you want to be really good at playing an instrument, eventually you have to fall in love with practicing every single day. So that should be your goal. How can I fall in love with this? What I always tell myself is, I picture someone that has what I'm working towards, or that loves what I'm trying to fall in love with, and I ask myself, what would be their approach towards these things? Because why we don't really love certain things, or why we don't really love putting in the effort, is mainly because of how we approach it. We approach the gym like, I'm going to just put my body through so much work, so much pain, my legs are going to hurt me afterwards. But someone who loves the gym, or someone who has their dream body, they're like, yeah, I'm going to train myself, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to really have a good time. They know that they're going to have a good time. So you fall in love with your process and know that you're going to have a good time. And trying to stick to routines might be really, really difficult, because when you fall off, it's really hard to get back on. But don't focus on the times where you fell off, or don't focus on the times where you didn't stick to the plan. Think of how you felt when you looked back and you were like, wow, I've been doing this consistently for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I want to keep doing this. I want this to be my life. So don't say, oh, I fell off last week, like there's no point anymore, everything has crumbled down. That's why I hate the idea of streaks. Because what do you mean one day ruins all the effort I have created? So free yourself from the idea of one day ruins everything. Just know that you fell off, you're human, and you can easily just pick back from where you left off. And it may be so hard to even take the first step, but just start with where you are. If to get what you want, if to get your dream body, you have to spend an hour or 2 hours in the gym. But right now, you're not in that headspace. You can start with spending 20 minutes or spending 30 minutes and eventually work your way to spending 1 to 2 hours in the gym to get your dream body. And even on the days your motivation is low or you don't feel like doing it, do not just give up or take it as a rest day. The tiniest amount of effort still counts. Your dreams and your goals are really important. At the end of the day, motivation is not something that we should rely on, and discipline is something that we have to build. The same way you won't wait to feel strong before you go to the gym is the same way we shouldn't wait to feel motivated before we put in the work. So remember, don't believe everything you think, and I'll see you in my next week's episode.